everyone. Pardon me. My name is Phil and welcome to Phil Does 3D. I'm a multimedia and 3D artist and I stream live on Twitch on Mondays and Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific time in the United States. That's 10 a.m. if you're in Australia or 1 a.m. if you're in the UK. I hope all you guys and girls are well. I'm a little bit rattled because we just had an earthquake here in Melbourne, so I'm a little freaked out. Smurf says, in an alternate reality, Phil is streaming his home cooking. Oh dear. Yes, so, yeah, you have to forgive me if I'm a little rattled this morning because, yeah, we've just had a magnitude 6 earthquake in Melbourne where I live. It was quite freaky. We don't generally get earthquakes in Australia because it's such a flat continent and an old continent, and we're right in the middle of one of the plates. So it's usually on the edges of the plates you get the earthquakes, and because we're in the middle, we usually don't get them. But we did have one this morning. Yeah, 6 is pretty chunky, as Smurf says it is, and it's the strongest earthquake I've ever felt. So the building was shaking and wasn't good. Nothing broken where I live. But I've been watching the news this morning and some parts of Melbourne, buildings, walls have collapsed and stuff like that. So, and the centre of the earthquake was about 200 kilometres from Melbourne. So they still haven't got news crews out to where the actual earthquake centre was. And it was a shallow quake as well. It was only like 10 kilometres deep. So the shallower the quake, the more the shake. So Smurf says, well, I'm glad you're okay. I am okay. I'm just a little shaken, but I'm okay. Okay. And I'm just warning you guys in case there are aftershocks, because generally, again, with an earthquake, you can get aftershocks. So, all right. We will continue. So, we are going to continue working on the House in the Hollow game. We're working on the Vintage Carpenter game. We're going to finish that today. We will finish it, barring any acts of God. Remember, if you do miss the live streams, you can catch up at any time by clicking the videos tab on my Twitch channel or going to my YouTube channel /PhilDoes3D. If you want to wishlist the game, you can do that as well. Just go to the About Me section on Twitch, and in my panels, you will find a link to the Steam store page. Remember too, if you want to join the Discord server, you can do that on the About Me page as well. Okay, so we're going to jump straight into Substance Painter and finish this car. And all we have to do, I think, is add a couple of dirt layers and we're done. So we added the dirt on the tyres. And now we're going to do the other. Sniper Girl. Hey, Sniper Girl, it's good to see you. Hope you're well. I was just telling Smurf that we've just had an earthquake, so I'm a little freaked out. So don't give me a hard time. Phil's nerves are a bit shot this morning. I'm just going to have a quick drink. Alrighty. I hope Hellforge is feeling better today. He wasn't too well yesterday. He had his first dose of vaccine and was feeling a little under the weather, which is quite normal. Some people do feel a little fluey maybe after they've had their vaccine shot, but it'll go away after a day or two. Sniper Girl says, I'm doing good. I can't believe it. Day after tomorrow, the drone is here. Woohoo. Remember, we want to see those pictures. Sniper Girl says, earthquake? Wasn't your old bone shaking? No, it wasn't. It was not my old bone shaking. It was a magnitude 6 earthquake here in Melbourne. We have had some property damage, like walls have collapsed and stuff. Not where I live. I haven't gone outside actually to check the building, but everything seems okay. And of all the things, can you believe what I was doing when the earthquake struck? I was on the toilet. The worst place in the world to be when you having an earthquake. I was sitting on the toilet. Wow. Yeah, I'm okay. I am okay. And from what I've heard from the news reports this morning, I don't think yet there are any reports of people being injured. But the earthquake was about 200 kilometres from Melbourne, in like the middle of it's just before you get up to the snowfields, sort of around there. So they haven't had any news crews get out there yet to see what the damage is or if anyone was injured out and where the earthquake was centred. But yeah, it was felt. I live in Melbourne, which is here. It was felt all the way up in Sydney, all the way over in Adelaide, which are the other two cities either side of Melbourne, and all the way down in Tasmania, which is the little island that sits just off the south coast of Australia. So it was felt over a really large area. Like we're talking, Melbourne to Sydney is like 2,000 kilometres, and then Melbourne to Adelaide is about 2,000 kilometres, and then Melbourne to Tasmania is about 1,000 kilometres. So over a really large area, and it was, yeah, I've never experienced an earthquake like that before. So I feels a little freaked out, but anyway. Oops, Murph says, Snappy Girl says, on the toilet. Yes, that's the best place to have an earthquake. It's easy to kiss your ass goodbye. Oh, wow. Yes. Anyway, so if we get we may get some aftershocks. Phil might get a bit freaked out on camera. Maybe my internet will go down. We'll see how we go. So I'm just giving you guys fair warning. Okay. So dirt layers. We just have to add 2 more dirt layers and then we can move on to something else. We'll call the card done. Wow. So we're just going to copy this layer here, which is, we have 2 dirt layers here. One is the mud that we have on the tyres and the other one is just a general dirt layer. We're not going to reuse the mud, only one of the mud for the tyres. So let us copy that layer. And let's move to the car body. And we're going to paste that layer in. And let's just swing around the car here so we can get a bit of a look at what's going on. We don't want the paint. Actually, why do I have a paint layer here? Yeah, we don't want this paint layer actually. Let's play with our mask. Okay, it's really subtle, but if you look sort of through here where this the gloss is, and as I turn it up, you can see it getting a bit dark. You notice it more on the car paint than you do here. Turn up the contrast. Yeah, and again, we'll see it happening here on these little fin things on the side of the body as I turn it down and then turn it up to bring the dirt in. I'm just going to go through this and see if I want to do anything with the colour. Just pulling it up a little bit more. I think it's just a bit too subtle. And I think I forgot to unpause my music. There we go. Sniper Girl says, how hard was it to learn to fly? How hard was it to learn to... No, it's not hard at all. Modern drones now are pretty much... They'll fly themselves, really. Not difficult. If you've played a computer game, you'll have no problem controlling a drone. You'll be fine. I mean, you know, every drone is a little different as far as the software goes, but no, they're really easy to control. You won't have a problem. Another girl says, that's good, because not going to lie, a bit anxious, I'll crash my new expensive toy. Well, make sure if, you know, just until you get familiar with it, you go into a nice big open space to practice, like a park, if you're allowed to in a park. I'm not sure what the rules are over in the US, but yeah, without too many trees around, so just in case. But they generally fly themselves these days. The software in them is pretty good. But just to be on the safe side while you're learning to control it, yeah, big open space with few trees so that it can't get stuck in a tree. Because you don't want to have to climb, like, you know, a 10-metre tall tree to get your drone back. So just go to an open park. But you'll be fine. My other suggestion too would be try and avoid flying it when it's too windy, because that could cause some issues. I mean, generally they can stabilise themselves in a bit of wind, these drones, but if it's blowing too much, then I wouldn't fly. Smurf says, when I went to the park with my friends 2 weeks ago, one guy had what I think was a DJI Phantom with him, and he accidentally backed it into a tree. It held up though, just trimmed some leaves off of it before he recovered. Yeah, they're generally pretty robust. I mean, if you're going to break anything on a drone by crashing it, it's generally going to be the propellers that'll break, but you can buy replacements for them anyway. They're generally the most fragile part of a drone, the propellers. So. Sniper Girl says, in my area a park is questionable. I need to get permission from the executive director if the park district. Oh, okay. What about a car park? That'd be another good option. There's an open space and no trees, so if you have to get permission for a park, maybe a car park. Do you need permission for that? Sniper Girl says maybe. Yeah, I know that the I don't know either. I know in Australia you can't fly it within so many meters of people, basically. I don't think they restrict where you can fly it, but they restrict how close to other people you can fly it. I think they're the laws in this country. I'm not sure about the US. And of course, over a certain size you need a license, so in this country. Yeah. So if you're new to flying a drone, you don't want it to get stuck in a tree or something like that. You don't want to break it. Try and fly it in an open space with no trees. That way, if anything happens, it's not going to damage the drone too much. But they're easy to fly generally, and yeah. My only other suggestion would be, like I said, don't try and fly it when it's too windy. Make sure the battery is fully charged as well, by the way, just in case. You don't want it falling out of the sky, number one, and you don't want it glitching out and just taking off into the distance on its own, which can sometimes happen if you're having issues with the battery. Sniper Girl says, here with a trust I can fly over people. When I get a 107, that's not a problem. Yeah, see, here you can't. Well, yeah, no, you can't fly a drone around people in Australia. It's against the law. And of course you can't fly anywhere near an airport. Because of those naughty people that were flying drones at planes and things a few years ago. they set that law up where you actually, I think actually airports have security measures where you can't actually physically fly a drone near an airport, it like puts it. They put out some sort of blocking thing so you can't control a drone near an airport. It's also built into a lot of software now as well that the drones use. The manufacturers were forced to put in, like, you know, drones will have GPS, and if it's anywhere near an airport, it won't fly. So. Sniper Girl says, the Autel that I got is rated for gale force. Oh, really? Gale force winds? Well, that's pretty good. I still wouldn't want to fly my drone in a gale force wind, but... so you're not scared of the wind? Sniper Girl says, Trust is the recreational UAS safety test. It's when a person needs to do recreational flying. In the US. Yeah, the laws are different depending on what country you're in, really. Each country has their own rules regarding drones. I was saying to you guys, we have 2 drones at the ArchViz studio, and I use those when I need to, but I don't actually own one. I should get one. I've been thinking about it. It's not something I desperately need. It'd be fun to play with, but I guess if I really need to play with a drone, I can just take one of the ones from work. But I have to give it back. I'm just trying to work out whether I want to put any more dirt on the body of this car. I don't know that it really needs it. It's pretty filthy as it is. Let's go to the details now, which is the interior, and have a look at that. Just waiting for substance to catch up. So one more day until the drone, hey? So is this being delivered tomorrow? Because you've already paid for it and bought it. So is it delivery tomorrow? Abigail says, when I get the drone, I'm going to register it with the FAA and then email the executive director of the local park district to see if I can get permission. We'll send them all my documentation. Sounds like a good plan? Thursday it is. It's due. Sorry. I come to you from the future. It's Wednesday here. So tomorrow is Thursday for me. That's why I said tomorrow. But okay. 2 more days for you. Yes, Phil comes to you from the future. Let's paste that dirt layer in here. Wait for substance here. And we're just going to zoom into the interior and play around. Again, we're going to get rid of that paint layer. And you can see what the dirt's doing much more on the interior here as I pull it up and down. I'm just going to reduce the contrast a bit. I've got to wait for substance. Takes a little while. Sniper Girl says the reason for restrictions in the local parks is because of idiots flying over people, disturbing them, and also disturbing wildlife. Fair enough, which is fair enough. I imagine drones used to be really noisy. They've gotten a lot better recently, but still, you don't want to freak out the wildlife. Or people. People go to a park to relax and chill, and I guess they don't want to be bothered by a drone as well, which is fair enough. I think what I'm going to do here is I find it easier to check what it's doing this way because Substance is a little slow, so yeah, I don't want to knock out the spec too much. So we might just pull it back a little bit. So just a subtle dirt layer here and there. You can mainly see what's going on, I guess, on the edge here of the car body. Another girl says this might sound odd, but if I get a no, I can go to one of these state-run colleges. Oh, okay, it has a pro-drone policy as long as you follow the laws. Well, that's another good option, yeah. I imagine they've got areas that are pretty open that you could practice in. Yeah, that's interesting actually. I'm not sure about the colleges here in this country, what their stance on drones is. Sniper Girl says, totally haven't been looking up drone policies in my area. Yeah, see, generally when I use a drone, when I'm using it, I'm in the middle of nowhere anyway. So like I'm at some mine in the middle of the desert. So there's like, there's no population for thousands of kilometers anyway. So it's not generally an issue. And we use, when we're doing stuff with the mining companies, we use really big drones. I can't even remember the brand name. It's not a DJ. We have a DJ drone, but the ones we generally use for the mining companies they're like twice the size of a DJ drone. They're huge, and they have really high resolution cameras on them. Sniper Girl says, yeah, the specific college that I'm preferring to does have a wide open area. But that's all you need. Anywhere wide and open that you can practice your drone flying in, just until you get the hang of the controls. But like I said, if you can play a computer game, which I know you can, then I'm sure you can control a drone. They're all pretty easy to control now. I'm just going to do a quick save here, and I wasn't going to reuse the mud texture, but I'm just thinking it might be interesting in the interior. We'll try it and we'll see. If we don't like it, we can always remove it. So I'm going to jump back down to the frame here, and we're going to copy the mud texture. This was just a general overall dirt layer, like a dust layer. And again, I've just got to wait for Substance Painter. There we go. Didn't even give me time to have a coffee. Sniper Girl says, actually being responsible and doing saves. Oh my god, that's right. I am. I'm being good. Phil's being good. I'll try and do anyway. Let's copy this layer and jump back up to the body, to the interior. Smurf says, what if it was gold dust? Yeah, it's gold dust. More gold! Maybe we should just turn the entire car gold. How about that? Like the toilet. You and your goldsmith. Let's paste that mud layer down. Again, I'm just waiting for Substance here to catch up. You can't see it, but just behind my head, it's got this little green bar. I'm waiting for it to move. We did do a save, so if the program crashes, we're good. It is still thinking about it. Oh, it's moving. That green bar is moving. Slowly but surely. Okay. Now. Okay, so we have a paint layer on here, which is the one we used to paint the mud on the tyres at the front. I might just turn that off. Actually, what do I want to do here? We might turn the mask off just temporarily so we can see actually what it's doing. I'm just going to change the height information here. Oh, I've already turned the height right down, okay. Then we're going to go to the normal, I think. Again, I'm just waiting for Substance Painter to catch up. Then the reason Substance is a bit slow is because we are working in 4K. So what I'm doing here is I'm just pulling back on the height information. So if we look in here, it's a bit too bumpy. So if we pull back on the height, it makes it look a bit more natural. But that's way too much dirt than I wanted. So we're going to re-enable the mask. Turn back the paint layer back on. And let me go into the right layer here. I think I might have the wrong color selected. There we go. I'm just going to start painting in a bit of that dirt or that mud. Again, I'm just waiting for Substance to cache here. It's just a little bit sluggish. A bit hard for me to paint while this program's a bit sluggish like this. It's basically caching stuff in the background. Should come good soon. Come on. Come on, Substance. You can do it. There we go. It was thinking about it for a while, but it got there in the end. So yeah, I'm just going to paint a little bit of dirt here and there. I don't think I want to paint any up here on the dial. No. Let's see, let's just check our brushes out, see if we can find a brush that's a bit more interesting. Let's go with the dirt brush. We don't really need to do this on the seats because they're quite dirty anyway. But it might just help to add a little bit more interest if we just throw a little bit more dirt on it here and there. Smurf says Chrome is using more RAM than Darktable. That's just sad on so many levels. Chrome is a memory and CPU hog. It is terrible. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Chrome has something what they call something that Google have created called software reporting tool, which doesn't run all the time, but does run occasionally. And when that thing runs, it eats the CPU. So I actually physically go through, find out, and every time you update Chrome, it reinstalls this tool under a new directory name. So every time I do an update of Chrome, I've got to find this directory and disable that software reporting tool executable. Because yeah, it's a real hog of the CPU, and I wish Google wouldn't do it. I mean, I don't really know what it's for. I think it's something to do with. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it's supposed to be reporting back to Google, but I don't like it. I don't want it. It uses too much of my CPU, and stop doing it, Google. So yeah, just next time you're running Chrome, if you use Chrome, and I do, just check your task manager to see if software reporting tool is running, because that'll eat up a lot of CPU cycles. And if it is, then go to open file. Like you can right click and then down one of the options will be open file location. That'll take you to where that software reporting tool executable is. And just either disable it by renaming it or delete it if you want. Because yeah, it's terrible. It's a terrible, terrible thing, and they shouldn't be doing it. I don't want you reporting on anything that, you have. I don't want it. Google, just stop it. Stop it. Sniper Girl says, yep, Chrome is bad. I prefer Opera. I can set how much resources it uses. Yeah, I have, because I've done web development and because I have websites and servers myself, I have pretty much every browser that you can imagine installed, except for Safari. I don't have Safari installed. But I've got Opera, I've got Firefox, and I've got Chrome, and I've got Edge, obviously, because that comes with Windows. But and I have to say, I use Chrome as my daily driver. I'm not really sure why. Edge is pretty good. Edge is faster than Chrome to load up websites. It's more snappy. It's built on Chrome though. But I found Firefox to be pretty good too, to be honest. Opera, I'm not a huge fan of Opera. No, it's not bad. I'm not saying it's bad or anything, but yeah, I don't know. I use Chrome. Again, I don't really know why. I don't mind Firefox. Firefox is pretty good. And Edge is faster than Chrome, and it's built on, Chromium or whatever Microsoft are using now. So it's pretty much Chrome by another name, but it is faster, more optimized than Chrome is. So I just don't tend to use it very much. I don't know why. I think I just use what I'm used to. You get used to using a browser and you stick to it for some reason. I'm sure Microsoft would prefer you never used Edge. Yeah, look, I don't use Edge either as my, I use it whenever I show work that you guys post in the gallery, and I see that Grizzly Gear posted a new image. I'll show that just before I sign off today. I use Chrome for that, and it is a good browser. It's very snappy. It's much quicker than I use Edge. It's much quicker than Chrome. It just loads websites much more quickly. I should really use Edge if I wanted to use a Chromium type browser, because it is better than Chrome. Smurf says, I have 2 different versions of Firefox, Chrome, Vivaldi, and Edge open right now. Wow, what are you doing that you need so many different browsers open, Smurf? I generally only do that when I'm just testing a website to make sure that they all load up correctly in each browser. That's really why I have so many browsers installed. It's to test web development stuff, web design stuff. Because you never know. It's gotten a lot better in this day and age, but a few years ago it used to be quite terrible because different browsers would render websites differently. Because there was no... We were supposed to have had standards for a long time, but Yeah, Microsoft used to do things their own way with regarding CSS, and yeah, so nothing ever looked the same. So it all had to be tested on different browsers. You had to actually go so far as to write different bits of HTML and CSS code depending on which browser people were using to view the website. But it was a major pain. Less of a pain now. Thank God. Smurf says everything. He wants everything. Sniper Girl says, I have one with like 50 million tabs. Well, no wonder you guys are running out of memory. Okay, what was I going to do? I was wondering if, I think what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to knock back on the height information a little bit here on the mud on the tyre as well. I think it's a little bit heavy. So first things first, we do a save because, you know, why not? And I just wait for Substance here to finish saving. Smurf says, one of the Firefoxes is my daily driver. The other is mainly for Imager and Facebook. Chrome is for Google Sheets, Twitch and Spotify. Vivaldi is for... I've not actually heard of Vivaldi. It is for some other Google stuff on a separate account. And Edge is mostly related to YouTube videos. Why though? Why, Simon? Why do you want to use Edge for YouTube? Yeah, I don't get it. Why Edge for YouTube? Why Chrome for Google Sheets and Twitch and Spotify? Sniper Girl says, I don't run out of memory. I have a limiter added to my browser that won't allow it to use up that much. Oh, that's a good idea. I wasn't aware, again, that you could use a limiter like that. So it says, Vivaldi is another Chromium-derived browser. Oh, okay. But with a HTML CSS user interface, it's highly custom. It's by the ex-Opera dev. Yeah, again, I was not aware of Vivaldi. I hadn't heard of it. I'll have to check it out. We're going to jump back into the frame. I just want to knock back the height information a little bit here. Not much, just a little bit. I mean, it's good now that you can transfer all your bookmarks between browsers really easily. That's pretty cool. And I use a password manager, so they all work between different browsers pretty seamlessly, which is good. Gone are the bad old days where you'd have problems importing bookmarks from one browser to another because they didn't want you to use another browser, so they made it as difficult as possible. The bad old days. I'm just going to jump down to the normal map here. Again, I'm just waiting for Painter to cache here. Come on. You can do it. Taking it a while. Oh well. Good opportunity for me to have more coffee. Come on, Painter. It's not that hard. You're not applying a new material. Fine, no. You're still thinking about it. Okay. Wow. I think we won't push it after this. We'll export the textures and we'll jump back into 3D Studio Max. Freaks me out when it does that, but we did do a save, so we're okay. Smurf says, you're running into the layer performance limit. You're probably right, because we do have a lot of layers going on. So I'm not going to push it anymore after I make this change. We'll call it done after I make this change here. Yeah, we've got multiple layers, nested layers happening here in the program, so I am asking a lot of Painter. We can't be too hard on the program. I'm asking a lot of it. Sniper Girl says, is there a limit? I wasn't aware there was a limit either, but it wouldn't surprise me. Smurf says, not like a program limit. It's just that Painter starts to get really chuggy when your scene starts reaching a certain complexity level. Hey, Android Dust, it's good to see you, buddy. I hope you're well. I have to tell everyone that jumps into the chat that I've, had an earthquake here this morning, so it freaked me out. So it feels a bit rattled, that's the reason why. We had a magnitude 6 earthquake in Melbourne. And the whole building shook. And it lasted for a good, I don't know, it felt longer, but probably a good 15 seconds. Yes, an earthquake, magnitude 6 earthquake in Melbourne. Felt up to a 2,000 kilometre radius all the way around Australia down the bottom. Up to Sydney, over to Adelaide, down to Tasmania. Come on, Painter. Wow. And it's unusual, like I told the guys, for us to get earthquakes here in Australia because we're a pretty old continent, not a flat one. So we don't generally get earthquakes. It's one of the biggest ones we've had in this country for decades. Magnitude 6. And shallow. So. Look, and the problem with this program is not my memory. I have enough memory, it's fine. Just, as Smurf said, it's probably because we're using so many layers, so many nested layers. I think what's happening here is because I've changed from the colour to, I think it's from the colour to the normal, it's recalculating for all of the different layers, the normal values, because I'm going to be adjusting the normal. I think that's taking it a while here. If I was to guess, that's what it's doing. Another girl says, yep, and he's sure it wasn't his shaky bones this time. That's right. It's finally got it. So yeah, see, it was calculating all the normal, so that's why it took a while. But I just want to knock back the normal here on the mud on the tyre because I just think it's a little bit too high. Not too much. We want a little bit of bumpiness. Maybe like that. That should be good. And let's not push our luck here. I'm just going to go back to the color channel, do a save, and we're going to export the textures because I think we can call the card done. I don't think there's anything else that needs to be done. I haven't forgotten anything. Everything's textured out. We've added dirt and the rust and all the rest of it. So I think we should be good. So let us do a save. And once it's saved, we'll do an export textures. Andrew Loss says, I didn't think Australia got many earthquakes. We don't. Because we're in like I said, because we're a really old continent and a very flat one, and Australia sits in the middle of a plate. It doesn't sit anywhere near at the edge of a plate, and it's usually on the edges of a plate, the tectonic plates that you get earthquakes, and we're right like in the middle of one. So we don't get earthquakes usually, which is why it was so unusual and why it freaked Phil out so much this morning. I told the guys I was on the toilet when it actually started, so that freaked me out. Didn't want to go running into the street with my trousers around my ankles. I didn't go outside at all actually, I sort of like just stood in the apartment staring at the wall shake. And we did have damage, like I know that before I came on stream I was watching the news and there were some buildings that had collapsed, some walls had collapsed and stuff. And we were like 200 kilometres from the centre of the earthquake. The earthquake was actually about 200k to the northeast of Melbourne. And I felt it really strongly here. I can't imagine the damage that might have been done in the small town where it actually happened, where the centre of the earthquake was. I guess I'll watch the news after the stream and see what the damage is. I hope no one was hurt. Smurf says, Painter and Adobe are a match made in heaven. Sluggish performance and calculations that take forever. Oh, burn, Adobe, burn. We love ragging on Adobe. But we all use the software. Well, I do anyway. I use their software all the time. because I do like Photoshop, I do like After Effects, and I do like Premiere. I don't like Adobe though, and I actually quite like Painter as well. So let us export our textures. Let's put it in the right folder. And we're going to create a subfolder called textures. And PBR, that's what we want. Let's export. And now again, we're exporting at 4K, but the engine will knock it back to 2K when we bring it into Unreal. Andrew Loss says, well, on the toilet was a good thing. Sniper Girl says, yep. When he told us that, I said the same thing. You can kiss your ass goodbye quite easily. I thought I was imagining it to begin with because it didn't. It starts really subtly, like it's just a bit of a tremor. You can sort of feel it. And then it builds up and up and up, and so it starts shaking more and more and more. And then as it finishes, it sort of like slowly fades away. Yeah, weird. So when it first started, because it was subtle, I thought, am I imagining this? What's going on here? But it didn't take long for me to realize it was an earthquake. Okay, again, just a quick save, and we're going to jump into Max because we have to flatten these tires. See, I remembered. Sniper Girl says, seriously though, I'm glad you're okay. You know, I am too, and from what I've heard, no one was hurt. I hope that stays true when I finish the stream and check out the news again, because it only happened like 20 minutes before I started streaming. So, yeah. You know, I'm really annoyed because I'd really like to go in and do something about this. Let me see if I can't. Let's risk it. The paint layout. We want to go to black. I'm just waiting to see how sluggish Painter is going to be and how long it's going to take. We did export the texture, so if it takes too long, we can just abandon this. We did save it as well, so we're covered either way. I'm just going along the edge here, just to remove that line. Now, odds are that line is probably correct because that's the edge of the tyre, so the mud will probably stop there like that anyway. I just don't like the look of it. I don't like that harsh line. So I'm just going through and just breaking that line up a little bit, so it looks a little bit more natural. Just like that. That's better. Let's check this side to make sure this one's okay. So I might just bring it down a little bit more here and there. That's better. Much better. And we'll just do a save again and then we'll just re-export the textures. Okay, file, export, everything should be set up, so re-export. I'm not sure what we're going to work on next actually, because we're going to be finished with this car now. We could bring it into Unreal, I guess, or we could start working on something else, but let's jump into Max. So what I've done here is I have added like, I've scattered leaves and bits of bark and twigs on the car. And I did that using Mass Effects in 3D Studio Max. So basically I just dropped leaves using physics over the car. So where they fell was just where they fell based on physics. I have kept them as a separate layer, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach them actually to the car. We could export the car and then export the leaves and put them together in Unreal, but I think it's probably going to be easier just to attach it all as one object. Max is a bit sluggish. There we go. Yeah, so I think we might do that. But I want to flatten the tyres on the car first, so let's select the car and go into isolation mode. And again, I'm just waiting for some caching to happen here because Max is performing a little sluggishly. And that's probably because of Painter in the background there. Yeah, I think it is. What I'm going to do before we start working on this is I'm going to close Painter down because we don't need it anymore anyway. Actually, I prefer not to close it down if I can get away with it. Oh. There we go. Max is okay now. We're going to go into vertex mode. Yeah, no, Max is a bit sluggish. I think we're going to have to close Painter down. So you see Mass Effects here, rigid body. That's because I use Mass Effects to drop the leaves, and I told Mass Effects the car was the thing that was the collision volume. So we can collapse that stack now. We don't need Mass Effects anymore. Hey Sniper Echo, it's good to see you, buddy. How are you? I've got to tell you too, I just had an earthquake in Melbourne. Freaked me out. I have to tell everyone. I'm good apart from being freaked out because of the earthquake I had this morning. I am going to close Painter down because Painter is just a little sluggish on me, unfortunately. Oh. Hang on. Let's just do a quick save again because I don't know why it's asking me to save, but anyway. We'll do what it wants. Is it saved? Good. Okay, back in Max. So we want to turn vertex mode on. And I think I just want to grab the verts on the bottom of the tires. And we're going to turn soft selection on. And just going to move it up. I might flatten it out a little bit. Hang on. Going to turn soft selection off. Flatten the bottom of those tires up. We're just going to select them again. Turn soft selection back on. I'm just going to spread them a little bit. No, I thought that might happen. We're going to have to do it bit by bit. I'm just spreading the base of the tyre, because if the tyre flattens, then the sides will sort of like bulge out a little bit. Okay, let's do this side. Oh. I'm in the wrong mode. There we go. Okay, that should be good. Just going to go out of isolation mode and we're going to move the car down to the 0 point, including the leaves. And we're going to select just the bottom leaves and move them up. Okay, I think we're good. Let's assign some textures so when we export it and bring it into Unreal, it's half set up for us. So we want a bitmap. It's not going to look quite right because we're using a PBR texture and I'm not using a PBR material here in Max, but it'll at least give us an idea. Textures, car body, and car detail. And car frame, car body, that's car frame, and that's car detail. I think we're good. I don't think there's really anything else we need to add to the car. So we flattened the tyres, we scattered some leaves, and we finished texturing it up. So I think we're good to go. Oh, actually the only other thing I think I might do is this one, the dials might be a bit new looking, I think. Yeah, I'm just worried that they're a bit too bright. Looking good, thanks Sniper Girl. Yeah, I'm just worried the dials are a bit too bright. So we might just knock that texture map back, which is this one here. We'll do it in Photoshop, it'll be easier. Where did I put it? It's the next question. There. Okay. So let's start by duplicating the layer. And let's do an adjustment on the color. Oh, we're not going to be able to do that. All right. Let us let's do a color balance. I'm going to bring in more yellow, maybe a bit more red. Okay. And let's also level this up so it's a little darker. Yeah, we might fade the dials a little bit. Darken it up a little bit. And now let's just use our eraser, the soft brush. I might add a new layer. No, not a group. And we might throw down a noise filter. Maybe clouds. Maybe we'll use clouds. We're just going to remove the color. I don't want the color. That just levels that up a little bit. And let's play with our mixing. We don't want it to turn yellow, so I'm just going to turn that layer off. I might just pull back on the fill a little bit on this layer. Okay, we're going to do a copy and a paste. And we'll do a level. And again, we'll go with our eraser tool and just remove a little bit here and there. Let's do a save as. We're going to call it dials, car dials. Hang on. Let's just swap out that texture. I think that's better. Not quite as bright. A little bit dirtier. Sorry, Sniper Girl says, what would you do if someone turned your Just Chat stream to a gaming stream? Oh, don't do it today, please. Andrew Lost says ban. Yeah, look, I don't know if I'm in the mood to play a game today because of my experience this morning. And we don't have enough time anyway. You don't want to use your points to get me to play a game now. We're halfway through the stream, over halfway through. Oh, you wasn't going to do it today? Oh, my Just Chat stream. You can do that if you want, that's fine. That is completely fine. If you want to redeem your points to have me play a game on the Just Chat stream day, that's fine. That's Tuesday next week, by the way. So Monday next week is our normal 3D stream, and Tuesday next week, unless Sniper Girl redeems her points, is our Just Chat stream. I still think I want to duplicate this layer again. I might just throw a warming filter on it. Just to I want to bring in a little bit of yellow, because you know how as things age they tend to yellow, particularly paper. But this isn't paper, but you know what I mean. So I'm just thinking if we bring in a little bit of yellow, it might look interesting. Sniper Girl says to everybody, specifically said Just Chat stream, and he thought he was talking about. Oh, sorry, I told you guys if I'm a bit frazzled this morning. That's the reason why. My earthquake experience has frazzled me. Oh look, I'm frazzled anyway. You guys know that. I've got an old brain. As Sniper Girl would say, very, very old brain. Hey, Sniper Echo. It's good to see you, buddy. Android Lost says he's still startled from the earthquake. I am startled from that earthquake that I had this morning. It freaked me out. Because we generally we don't get earthquakes in Australia, and this one was this magnitude 6 was quite strong, and it freaked me out. It's still going to give me a hard time. I wouldn't expect anything less. Sniper Echo says we all need to get into a Discord channel and do this Just Chat live. Let's save this. And yeah, I like the yellow. I like having a bit more dirt on those dials. Makes it look more interesting. Okay, I think we can call the car done. I don't think there's anything else we need to do. We flatten the tyres. Actually, I just think I want to make a correction here on the tyre. So I'm just going to go into isolation mode and turn off soft selection. And the front ones are okay, so I don't need that one. I think it's mainly just the back ones. That one's okay, so it's really only this one. I just want to flatten it out. That's better. Hang on, what are we talking about? Sniper Echo says, I'm not sure we would get a word in edgeways. Sniper Girl says, that's why I'm a mod, you're a masochist. That's right. Andrew Loss says, that poor car needs a better owner. I agree. Yes, but you know, he's disappeared, so he hasn't been around, Mr. Barrett, to actually look after his car. So no one's looked after the poor thing for decades. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else we need to do though. I think everything now is pretty much done for the car. So I think what I might do here is we're going to do a save, and then we're going to save as a revision. So we'll save this one, and I'm going to attach the leaves to the car. It'll make it easier for me when I bring it into Unreal, if they're all one object. Are the dials part of it? No, let's also attach the dials. So now we should just have one object. Yes, good. And we're just going to do a quick save as a revision. Might just move these others into the old folder so I don't get confused as to what's going on. And I'm calling it final underscore attached. Good. Sniper Girl says, what happened was Phil owned that car for decades and he just left it. Andrew Loss says, I would have thrown a cover on it before I disappeared. Well, maybe he didn't intend to disappear. Maybe. Sniper Girl says the same. Andrew Loss says, especially convertible. Yeah, I agree. You generally, if you got a convertible like this, you probably would have covered it up. But that wouldn't make a pretty asset for you to look at when you're playing the game if it's just got this ratty old cover over it, would it? And I did decide to put leaves there because I do want to have some nice hero trees around the drive. So we need trees, we need leaves, and we need sticks and twigs and bits of bark. Sniper Girl says, what's the worst that can happen? Android Lust says, well, I guess it's technically not a convertible. No, because they never had a roof. So I guess if it never had a roof, is it still a convertible? I guess not. That's what makes it convert, doesn't it? If it has a roof, it doesn't have a roof. So let's export this now. File, exports selected. Let's put it in the right folder. It's taking my brain a while to work. I'm still frazzled. Textures, we'll put it in the textures folder and we're going to call it vintage car. Good. So what should we work on now? We can either work on a new asset, like I have a gate, a main gate, which is going to be where this car is. So this car is in the first landscape when you start playing the game, before you get to where the building is in the second landscape. And this car is going to be in a drive, and in front of that drive, there's another decorative gate. So I always seem to be doing gates recently. So we could work on that, or we could jump into Unreal and start setting up another scene with a skeleton in another part of the landscape near the house. Or we could bring this into Unreal and start setting a shader up. Gates are cool, Smurf says. Okay, maybe we'll do the gate then. Andrew Dust says, to be fair, I've had leaves in my car because I didn't put the top up. Okay. Yeah, but you didn't let your car get into this state, did you? Before you cleaned it out. Andrew Dust says gate. Okay. Sniper Girl says car into Unreal. I just mean importing the car and setting up the shaders in Unreal. But it seems the gate is the next one that you guys want to talk about. It's been chosen, so we'll do the gate. So let's save that and let's open up the gate. The gate is actually modelled already. I was working on it over the weekend, last week. Okay, fine. Because I saved a revision, it's knocked it off my recent list, so I'm just going to have to do it by hand. Okay, let me see. Car gate. Car gate. Okay, this is the gate. Let me just do that so I can rotate and orbit it so you guys can see it. So this is the front of the gate, and you know it's the front because it's got the FB for Francis Barrett on it. So this is going to be a metallic gate, obviously, and we do need to we need to also create some walls. I might do that live on stream. The actual walls that surround the drive. And what we're going to do is we're going to reuse parts of the decoration here for the gate in the walls. Andrew Lost says it's so extra. What does that mean? Nothing else says it's full. So OC it is. What are you guys talking about? What do you mean? What? Come on, I've got an old slow brain. Explain to me. What are you talking about? What's so extra? And why OC? So yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to texture this up in Painter. We have to UV map it. Once we've textured and UV mapped it, we're going to create the walls for the rest of the fencing, and we're going to reuse parts of the decoration because you would have the same decoration in the walls. I haven't decided on exactly the design for the walls yet, but we'll tackle that when we come to it. That gate costs more than the car, Android Lust says. We've got so many gates. We've got the main gate that you enter to get to the building, and then we've got that Art Deco gate in the back of the building, and now we're going to have this main gate at the front of the drive. So. Smurf says extra is the new hip way the kids say that something is over the top. Oh, okay. Thank you, Smurfberry. I was not aware of that. I am getting old. So extra is over the top. Okay. Yes, it is OTT. I agree. But why not? Why not? So now what I'm going to do here is, normally when we do a gate, we do one column and we do one half of the gate, texturing and UV mapping. I thought with this one we would not do it that way. We're going to texture map that one as its own texture. We're going to texture map that one as its own texture, and we're going to do the gates as their own textures as well. So we're not going to reuse the texture maps. One of the reasons we can't really do that with the gate is because of the F and the B. So they're not identical. So the texture map, I could separate the F and the B and make them their own texture if I wanted to, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to texture each of these as their own texture maps and each of the columns as their own texture maps. And again, that's so that we can make them look a bit more unique. Each of these pieces look a bit more unique, as opposed to reusing a texture. Yeah, because where this is going, because it's going in landscape start, or the very first landscape, there isn't a lot of other assets that will be required. So we're not really limited on texture memory. So we're going to give them their own unique textures, make it look more unique. I may even end up growing ivy over this, depending on how it looks and where we set it up when we start bringing it into Unreal. I more than likely will grow ivy on the fencing. I may grow it here on the gate as well though. And I've yet to decide whether I'm going to allow the player to open the gate or whether the gate will already be open. I'm not sure. Like if I had the gate already open, then I can maybe destroy the gate a little bit, make it look a bit old. That's more difficult to do once I turn it into an object that the player can interact with. So I'm not sure, but we'll tackle that when we come to it. That's something we can do after texturing anyway. Smurf says, sorry, Crosswind. Hey Crosswind, it's good to see you, buddy. Hope you're well. Crosswind says, what was the process for making that gate? Is that a retopology kit bash set? No, it's basically, if you guys saw me when I was making the elevator, do you remember the elevator we made in for the game? I'm just going to go here so I can go to the website, so we can go to the Steam store page, so we can go to, where is it? Now why aren't they showing up? That's annoying. Come on Steam, what's going on? I just want to find the image. Here we are, the elevator. So basically the same way I created the elevator here. It's got all the same sort of fretwork. Actually, maybe if I think I've got an image on my hard drive. We can look at that. This is an external drive, so it just takes Windows a minute to kick in. Let me pull this over. So yeah, basically the same way you saw me create the elevator. So yeah, it's like a kit bash. So basically I use a series of these decorative pieces, and then I put them together in different shapes. So like a kit bash. Yeah, like a kit bash. Pretty much. So I have all these different shape pieces that I put together into a pattern, like we did with the elevator. So yeah, and then with the initials F and B, that was just using the text tool and max, basically, and doing an extrude. Actually, not even doing an extrude. Part of the text tool, you can make it a renderable object. So that's how the F and the B were created here. And this is actually a photogrammetry urn, which I haven't applied the texture to because I'm still deciding whether I'm going to retexture it. It will depend on how I decide to texture up the rest of the gate as to whether I use the original. I can show you the original texture map, why not, for the urn. The photogrammetry urn. But I may retexture it completely in Painter anyway. just bring in the text, the color map, not the normal or anything. Yeah, it's probably going to be a bit dark. It's going to be difficult for you to see. But that is a photogrammetry object. Again, because I'm not using a PBR shader and max here, it's difficult to see it, but it does have a texture, but I may retexture it anyway. We'll see how we go. But we need to, first things first is we need to start UV mapping this gate. I'm not sure if I'm really in the mood to do that today, to be honest with you. Yeah, I don't know if I'm in the mood to do UV mapping at the moment. What do I feel like doing? So yes, crosswind. It was like a kit bash. I have a series of those pieces. If I go into my models folder, where is it? What's it under? I have a subfolder here which has all those decorative pieces in it. Just can't quite remember what the folder's called. So yeah, like a kit bash. It's just a folder with different decorative pieces that you put together. Belzoro says, have you modelled this gate? Android Lost says, every day's a good day to UV map. I know you like UV mapping, but I really don't like UV mapping. Android, sorry, Snappy Girl says, you're one of those people. Crosswind says, hopefully you can auto unwrap that. I'd hate to try to UV all that manually. That seems like a huge amount of pieces. We are probably going to do it bit by bit, but we're going to be doing it in Rhizome UV because that's pretty much a one-click unwrap for the different pieces. I wouldn't want to do it manually either. We'll use Rhizome, but we will break it up into pieces. I won't get Rhizome to try and do the unwrap on everything together because you never get a good unwrap like that. But it'll still be like an auto unwrap anyway, just on different bits and pieces. Yeah, I don't know if I feel like doing the unwrapping on this today. I'm still freaked out from the earthquake. That's my excuse. Maybe we'll bring the car into Unreal. How about that, guys? Let's do that. So that way we can say the car is finished. I don't have to think I've got to still bring it into Unreal. I think we'll do that. So I can close Photoshop down. I don't need that now. I don't need to save that either. Let's open up Unreal. Sniper Girl says, but people voted on the gate. Do you guys really want me to start UV mapping the gate? Come on, show of hands. Who wants me to start UV mapping the gate? Who wants me to bring the car into the Unreal Engine? I know you guys said the gate before. Is it still the gate? I'll do what you guys want. It's fine. I can unwrap. I can do some unwrapping. You thought you... Android Dust says, I thought you voted on the car. Well, I decided on the car, but I'll do the gate. Yes, she did. She decided she wanted the car as well. And now she's giving me a hard time for wanting to start the car, bring the car into the engine. Shall we jump back in and unwrap the gate? Is that what you guys want? Do you want me to unwrap the gate? Why do we have to choose? Can we not have both? Andrew Loss says, your stream time is almost up. I changed. Yeah, that's the reason I'm deciding on the car as well. Because we've only got a short while left until the stream ends, and you know this UV mapping is going to take me a while. So we might save the UV mapping of the gate until Monday next week when I'm back, and we'll bring the car in. That way we can say the car is done and finished. So I'm going to open up the engine, the game here. Remember, all of this is for a game called The House in the Hollow. For anyone new to my channel, Belzoro, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Phil Does 3D, Belzoro, and thank you for following. just opening up the game level. So yes, I'm working on a game called The House on the Hollow. It's a game you can wishlist on Steam at the moment. Just going to jump out of the interior of the building. And we'll just head back over to where we were last working, which I don't really know why I'm doing this because we're not doing any work in this area, but hey, what up? So our outhouse is up that path, so we'll just stay here and jump into our models. Maps, manor house, models. I'm just going to try and work out how I want to set this up because the car is not going in this landscape, it's going in another landscape. And I have my models folder under my manor house subfolder. So I guess we can put it here because I've got the crypt and stuff here, and that's not going in this landscape either. That's going in the third landscape. So yeah, we'll do that. So we're going to create a new folder, and we're going to call it vintage car. Okay, and we're going to also create a folder in the textures called vintage car. So we stay nice and organized. And the same with the materials. Okay. So let's import the car. Snappergirl says, then I changed my vote to the game to be difficult. To the gate. So she wanted the car, and now that I'm doing the car, she wants the gate. You don't always get what you want. Android Lost says, I think you skipped. Oh, did I? What was the question? I'm sorry. Oh, Belzoro, have you modelled this guy? Yes, Belzoro, I have. It needed a bit of cleanup. It was actually a bit of a pain to model, to be honest with you, but yeah, even doing it like a kit batch, it was still a pain. But the urn is photogrammetry. That little urn that was at the top of the post, that's not modelled, that's photogrammetry. Let's bring the car in. So I'm going to import the model that we just made for the car. Bugatti. It's in the textures folder and it's the vintage car. Will take it just a little while because remember we have all those leaves and stuff as well. Now you'll see my car is actually standing up on end. We're gonna have to fix that. Let's jump back into Max. Let's reopen up the car model. Basically I need to do a reset on the X form, so let's do that. We're going to select everything and reset the X form, collapse the stack. And that should fix it. So let's re-export it one more time. There's the vintage car. Okay. Let me just do a save here so I don't forget to do that. Back into Unreal, re-import the car. Now our car is sitting correctly, which is good. Now we need to change these. I don't want virtual textures on these. Let me bring that over so you guys can see it. Because I want the textures reduced to half their size, so I'm going to turn off virtual texturing. which will break the shaders, but that's okay. We can redo that. Alright, let's see here. Now we're going to bring in actually car body. Let's start with that. So because we changed it from a virtual texture, we have to change it here back to color, not virtual color. That'll fix the shader. And we want to bring in the textures for the car body, so let's do that. Car body, we want the metallic, the normal, and the raw. Again, these will be turned to virtual textures. We're going to have to change them back. Alright, now let's bring those in. That one's the raw. Okay, so this one will be the metallic, this one is the normal, and this one is the raw. Let's apply and save. I'm just going to rename this underscore MAT for material. Again, so we keep nice organization and housekeeping. Okay, car details next, I guess. Change this one back to color. Import the other textures, so car details. Metallic, normal, and raw. And let's bring them in. That one's the metallic. I'll get confused if I'm not paying attention. That's the order we want them in, so metal, normal, and rough. I'm actually looking forward to using UE5. I like the new redesign of the, it's subtle, but it's nicely done in the new version of Unreal. So I'm looking forward to actually playing around with that program once it comes out of beta. I won't play with beta software Epic, I'm afraid. Okay, so that's details. Let's rename that underscore map. The dials don't have a normal map or anything. I didn't create one. I don't really think that they need a normal map. We'll see how we go. So let's just rename this one underscore map. We've got the car frame. So let's fix that up. Import the textures, which will be this one, and this one. Android Lost says it gets better. Let's turn off virtual texturing. Remember, Belzero as well, if you want to join the Phil Does 3D Discord server, if you want, you don't have to. you can click that link I've just popped into Twitch chat. There's a section, a gallery where you can show off your work. If you're doing anything in 3D you want me to show on stream, pop it in there and I'll show it all. Because I do want to show somebody's Grizzly Gear's work just before I sign off today as well, because he popped an image in. There's a tutorials and tips section. There's a section on the Discord where you can link to your ArtStation or your portfolio or anything like that if you want. Just want to mention it just in case you do want to join. So metallic, normal and rough. Metal, normal and rough. Okay, so the last thing left is the, let's just rename this underscore Matt. Now the car leaves, and again the leaves, I don't have a normal map on them. It's unnecessary for something like leaves, but we want to change these to color. Hang on, what's color? Color. Should be linear color for game. Okay, let's have a look here. I'm just trying to work out what it's complaining about, why it's complaining. That's why. We will turn sRGB off, back off again. It's because the engine for some reason decided to change the main shader to a transparent instead of a masked. Still complaining here. This color should be linear color. Yeah, no, I don't want it to be linear color. I think what it's complaining, I think it might be a 16-bit texture. I'm just going to check that in Photoshop. Leaves, that's right, Smurfberry. Yeah, I'm just going to open up Photoshop really quickly and check this texture because Unreal is complaining. I think it might be a 16-bit texture, that could be the problem. It's a texture I baked out from Max. So, yeah, these two I want to check. Image mode, yeah, see it's a 16-bit, that's the reason Unreal is complaining. I'm going to change it to 8 bits. I will also check this one, which is the alpha mask. This one as well, we'll change it to 8 bits and we'll save them. We don't need 16-bit textures for leaves on a car, unnecessary. Okay, let's re-import them again. Stop complaining. Why are you complaining? I might just re-add them. We'll see what that does. So, okay, we want to turn virtual texturing off. We don't want a 4K texture for leaves. That's completely unnecessary. Still wants to bring it in as a linear color. That's better. We're just turning sRGB back on. The reason it's turned off is because when we originally imported the texture, which was a 16-bit texture, the engine automatically assigned linear color and turned off sRGB. But because we knocked it back to an 8-bit texture, we can turn sRGB back on. So it doesn't have to be a linear color. So let's hook that up to the color, and this one is going to the opacity mask. We're not using translucency. Okay. Just rename this one _matte. So, we've got the car body, the car details, the dials, the frame, and the leaves. Good. That car should be ready to place in the level once I actually create the landscape level. It should be good to go. Let's just do some organization now. Move the textures into that textures folder. And move the materials into the materials folder. Oh, forgot that texture. And rename this _MSH for mesh. Good. Now we have the car in the engine. So we can call the car done. Let's save all. Alright, I think what we might do is check out Grizzly Gear's image that he posted in the gallery, because it's another... He's been doing a model a day, which is really a cool thing to do. And so far he's done 20 models, so in 20 days, which is impressive. Let's close Unreal down and let's have a look at this model from Grizzly Gear. Again, Android Lust showed his model yesterday, which is beautiful. He always has beautiful characters. So you guys should jump on the Discord server again if you're new to the channel and check it out in the gallery. But this is Grizzly Gear. Again, this is the Model 20 from A Model a Day that Grizzly Gear has been doing. That reminds me of the great looking model Grizzly Gear. I don't think you're in chat, but it reminds me of, you know, the movie The Abyss? It sort of reminds me of that. The creatures in the movie of The Abyss. I wonder what it's actually from. Did he say? No, he doesn't say. But it looks good, Grizzly Gear. I love it. My favourite is still the octopus in the bathtub, though, I have to admit. Of Grizzly Gear's model. I love the octopus in the bathtub. You haven't seen that movie, Android Lost? It's not a bad movie. I mean, yeah, it's alright. It's probably worth a watch. It's really old now, though. Smurf says, I'm guessing it's an original work. You could be right. But it's just, this bit here reminds me of The Abyss. The creatures in The Abyss, this back piece. I don't think The Abyss had actually physical creatures that look like human, like here. But this piece in the back reminds me of it. like a stingray or a manta ray, whatever you want to call them. But again, lovely work, Grizzly gear. I'm impressed you can do one a day. I will show Android Lust images again as well because they are so beautifully done. But yeah, I love a Grizzly gear, and I'm impressed you're doing one a day. But this is Android Lust's work, and he really does beautiful character work. And again, I love the kitty cat. Love the cat. And the hair looks great, and the lighting looks great, and the texturing is nice, and the modeling is nice. It's just beautiful work all up. So yeah, again, if you're new to my channel, join the Discord server and check out the gallery because the guys and girls have posted some really beautiful work that are members of the Discord in the gallery. And everyone's work is different and everyone's really talented. And yeah, so check it out. Check the gallery out, guys. And also the folios and demo reels section, so you can see people's art stations if you want to look at more of their work. And to the tutorials and tips again, because there's some really, really useful and helpful tutorials there as well. Yeah. Smurf says, but it's a bit like The Abyss. Yeah, it reminded me of The Abyss, the character, a little bit. Or the Seth from Crisis. Smurf says, Android Lust says, didn't play Crisis either. I missed out on so much. I didn't play Crisis either. I think I watched a Let's Play of someone playing Crisis. But I don't think I ever played it either. Because there's that, you know, that meme, can it run Crisis? Is that still a thing? Because when it was first released, no one could run that game. Hardware wasn't powerful enough. Yep, Crisis the game. Well, I'm assuming that's what he means. Is that what you mean, Smurf? From the game? I don't think there's a movie called Crisis, is it? Yes, from the game Crisis, which, like I said, was a great looking game when it was first released. Which is why the running joke was, can it run Crisis? Because no one could run it on high detail when it was first released, that game. But it did look good for its time when it was released. There was really nothing around like it. It looked good. Smurf says, it's still hard to run Crisis because of the way it renders shadows. Android Lust says, I don't think I had a GPU with Crisis when Crisis was first released. It was a long time ago Crisis was released. Yeah, it was a while ago. Far Cry 6 is due to be released any day now, isn't it? And they always do a nice job in the environments with the Far Cry games. I don't play the Far Cry games. I don't really find them that interesting, but they do pretty environments. And it's due to be released any day, I think. It's nothing to do with Crisis. It's a sort of similar sort of game to Crisis, I guess. Smurf says, and motion blur. I wasn't aware. I can't remember that Crisis had motion blur. So there you go. Is there anything been released recently that I want to play? I mean, Deathloop's getting a lot of publicity at the moment. Deathloop. Deathloop, yeah. The new game from Bethesda, which is now owned by Microsoft, of course. I don't know, it doesn't look that interesting to me. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I played the Dishonored games 1 and 2. They were okay, but yeah. Deathloop doesn't really... It's not a game I want to rush out to play, but it's getting good press, so... Android Love says, Far Cry games always look nice. I never beat any of them though. Smurf says, I played Far Cry 1 and both Far Cry 5s. Sniper Girl says, thanks for... You're quite welcome. Oh, we're at the end of the stream. Smurf says, those mutant monkey people in the first Far Cry can heck right off. So again, yeah, check out the Discord, guys, if you want to check out the guys and girls' work. But we finished the car, we got it brought into the engine, so we're all good to move on to doing the gate. We'll be next week on Monday, unless Sniper Girl wants to redeem her player game points. We'll be working on the gate on Monday, and Tuesday next week is our Just Chat stream. So where we don't do 3D and we just talk about anything and everything you guys want to talk about. That's on Tuesday next week, US time, of course. But Monday we'll be doing 3D. Unless, again, on Monday or Tuesday, Sniper Girl redeems her points for me to play a game. In which case, we'll be playing a game with it for the whole stream. We'll probably end up playing The Witcher, I guess. But I do want to thank you guys and girls very much for hanging out with me in my frazzled state after the earthquake experience this morning. I do appreciate it. You guys have a good weekend and good rest of the week. Make sure you stay happy, healthy, and safe. You guys take care, and hopefully I will see you all again on Monday next week. See you guys.